every day is a good day for improving safety. Remember that question, have you done something every day to improve safety? I think that every day is a good day for improving safety. And I think we should take that to heart. Because if we don't, I fear we're going to miss out on opportunities to make our world safer, but also our business safer. So how did we get so far? I'm looking at these fantastic persons here, celebrities on the wall, the generations before us. And we can move even further back in time to let's say, the cave times. How did we get so far? Any good replies? I have one. We share stories. We share stories. We share experience. We learn from each other. We communicate. I think that's the sole most important thing to remember when we talk about safety. We can have all the regulations in the world. We can have the best technology, the best microphones in the world. But if we don't share information, we are bust. I'll tell you, I will share, and I hope that you will share also, maybe later on over lunch or tonight after dancing, because I saw that you were a very dancant community, which I love. And before the drinks, because I saw that some might drink too much. So share before or tomorrow. But I'll share my story. I have many, by the way. I worked in aviation many years, both in the administration of aviation, but also in the field. I was working at Arlanda Airport for almost 8-9 years during my studies as a ramp agent, low controller. And by the way, that was I was hired as a check-in agent when Transwede was starting to fly. That was my first job, to check in for Transwede. That was very good times indeed. But I had a mishap as a ramp agent. I don't know exactly when, nor the company, but I remember the mishap. And this is what I wanted to share with you, because I think, at least for me, that tells me a story. So I was out at the departing aircraft. It was parked quite far out on a remote parking place. It was a Fokker 50, a lot of cargo, some passengers, and I had everything ready. It was just minutes before departure. So I had my load sheet. I had not delivered it yet to the captain, but I was standing there to count the passengers and see if they were seated. Can you still hear me? I think it's breaking up a bit. Okay. So I was counting the passengers and just checking that the cargo was where it should be due to weight and balance. And if you know the Fokker 50, it has a cargo compartment in the front as well. So I was looking at this, and everything was good. And just minutes before I was going to hand over the load sheet to the captain, I had someone calling me on the radio, and it was that newspaper guy coming with newspapers. And that was always the routine. Comes late, just minutes before departure, fresh from the press. So when I said, it's a standard procedure. So just load them on. I knew it was about, normally 30 kilos. So I added that to the load sheet, no problem, no sweat. Giving this to the captain and driving away from in my little car back to base. Aircraft was taxiing out. And then I saw the delivery note from the newspaper guy in the car, because he just dropped it there as he would always do. 250 kilos of newspapers loaded in front. And I started immediately, because I know we were quite front heavy already. So I knew immediately that we were at least close to the border, where we should be, center of gravity. So I think I ran in, or at least walked very fast, not to look too stressed. And I started to do my changes in the load sheet on the computer. And voila, I saw that we were just beyond the limit. So I couldn't release the load sheet, but the captain had my manual load sheet. And I was, what should I do? He's taking off, and he's out of balance. His center of gravity is not allowed. So, and then I saw on the flight information displays that he was already away, flying to Åland in this case. And I didn't know, what should I do? And of course, I had to report it. So I reported immediately to my supervisor. I had to make a report into the safety management system, and it was good that I did that. And maybe it was a good mistake, because what happened was that it turned out in team discussions that we all had the same problem with the newspaper guy, but no one had talked about it. So if we had shared this information, of course we should have, probably they were not outside the center of gravity or the limitations, but they all had this late delivery, and it was always more than what was on the delivery slip that we got before the flight. So if we had just shared this information, this simple piece of information, we would have improved safety. So that's just a little story, and I hope that, I'm sure that here there are many, many stories like that or different, where you know that just by doing something, talking, explaining, sharing, you will increase the level of safety. I have something with me here, and I will put it here because it reminds me. You know what this is? It's a box of Läkerol. And do you know the slogan of Läkerol? Makes people talk. So if you don't remember me after this presentation, remember Läkerol, and then you will remember what is important here. Right, let's move on. I think that let's say the headline for this conference is right on the money, because if we do not explain, if we do not take care to work together, we will have problems to improve safety in this system. We have fantastic tools for that. We have fantastic regulation for that. We have taken huge steps forward from the 70s and 80s. But ultimately, it's us people that are in the middle of this process, right? If we do not share, we will not fill the system with the information we need to improve safety. And here, I fully agree. We will not be able to rely on AI, ChatGPT, GPT, and other fantastic tools that we see out there. It comes from us, starts and ends with us. I will tell you one or two words about how I see a bit of the future and why we necessarily have to devote more time to this in the future. Safety community, safety sharing, and let's say picking up the speed on safety evolution. But first, just a couple of words about the group that I represent. So it's a business organization, part of the Confederation of Swedish Enterprises called Svenska Flygbranschen, or the Swedish Aviation Industry Group. We try to be the place where aviation meets. Apparently, this is where aviation meets, so at least now I joined you where aviation meets. We have about 87 member companies with some 6,500 employees. Before the pandemic, it was over 100 companies with over 10,000 employees. So we're still lagging behind, but you know that more than I do probably. And we have a wide range of companies, which is not unimportant when it comes to safety and safety management, and also to what you do and what web manuals can provide. We have everything from airlines to airports, ground handling companies, and you see the list there. And this is not unimportant, because we also know that it's not enough to share information about what has happened in safety between the brothers and sister companies. We also have to start cross-feeding from branch to branch to see where are the elements of risk in the chain of delivering aviation safety. So I think it was mentioned more than one time that a lot is changing. It's a very changing world that we see today, political, but also as we have seen this summer, with a lot of disturbing news about flooding and forest fires. We hear more and more about the climate change. Climate change is there, and we have to work our way out of it somehow, or at least mitigate the risk for it. And this is an important part of understanding where we're going in aviation. This is why I also think we need to bring it into us when we talk about safety, because I think we need to start talking about climate safety as well. environmental safety is something that we already have because we certify engines according to noise levels. We have CO2 regulations now or limits in ICAO annexes. But I think we need to really take this very seriously when we continue our journey. But at the same time, society is changing. We see it locally, but we also see it internationally. There are streams of people going to new countries. We're mixing cultures, fortunately, in a way that I think will only be increasing the pace in the future. And we see also that the society is changing when it comes to cultural behaviors. It's political, but also behaviors. This is also important to try to understand where that takes us. And transport is changing. We all know the e-scooters. I wasn't there a couple of years ago. Some hate them, some love them. I'm somewhere in the middle. But we also see, what was mentioned before, drones. If we come a bit closer to our domain, we see new features on the roads, in the air, and at sea. And I think we haven't seen anything yet. I think it's going to be a small explosion of new ways to transport people and goods in the future. And of course, aviation is changing. Aviation is changing in a pace that is unprecedented. I tried to show sometimes this slide. We have about, let's say, just roughly 120, 110 years of aviation experience that we are basing our designs and aviation knowledge, our rules on today. Roughly. But in the next years, we will have to consider a much faster pace of changing. We will have to move probably in 25, 30 years' time to meet the climate goals, if nothing else. So that's not even 30 years to meet the climate goals of the EU, for example, where we will see a tremendous development of society. Not only aviation, but other technologies as well, and behaviors will be there in front of us. And why do we then have to change? Can't we just continue? I mean, it would be much easier. Just continue like before. Maybe add some sustainable aviation fuel. That's okay, right? No? Well, I think we're coming to a crossroads, if we're not there already, where either we evolve or we dissolve. We have to make this business not only the best business, the safest business, but also the most environmental friendly business that we have. That's the focus that people and media gives to aviation. I think you know that. I mean, you can have 1,000 people dead in car accidents in a country over a year, but one accident, even without deaths, in aviation gets the headlines. So we have the eyes on us for good reasons, but we should also use that in the best way possible and make sure that we meet the challenges ahead. So what do we see here? I'll try to explain it with this picture. I think some of you might have seen it before. So in the middle here is sustainable aviation, because that's what we have to develop. Either we like it or not, that's where we are heading. How do we do that? By increasing efficiency. Obviously, I mean, the airport operation, the air operation, everything can be made more efficient, right? By flying the straightest route, we can gain 10% fuel economy. We will burn 10% less fuel over Europe. So imagine if we could do that. However, our politicians do not apparently want that, because we still are waiting for the Single European Skies to become a reality. And we have been waiting for almost 30 years. New fuels are coming. I will come back to that. New technology, I will come back to that as well. New designs, because the new technology and new fuels give the possibility to make new designs. And of course, we will all be affected by this. So if we look a little bit more then into the new fuels, and this is then, let's say, the sustainability journey of aviation in a very, very short time, we need a lot more sustainable aviation fuel, right? I think you might be aware of the Refuel EU Aviation Package, which was just, I think last weekend, approved by the European Parliament. So by 2050, aviation needs to fuel up with 70% of sustainable aviation fuel. Today we have 0.1%. Now that's a journey. That's a challenge. And by the way, who bought extra on the ticket sustainable aviation fuel while flying here? We could have done that exercise here as well on the floor. I think there's not many. I will do that. I'll try to do as much as I can. Did anyone else buy sustainable aviation fuel while flying here if you flew? Maybe you didn't fly. Who flew? Okay. So you see, not even in the business are we doing what the rules already and the environment tells us to do. How will we get this working if we don't take that responsibility? It starts with us, right? So I challenge you for the next conference that I want to see more hands up and say, yeah, of course I bought sustainable aviation fuel. It costed me, 30, 40 euros extra, but I know the deal. And then we come to fantastic opportunities with electricity and hydrogen. The golden nugget over there somewhere, maybe 20, 30 years from now. What can we do with this? But the electricity is here and now. I'm a private pilot and I flew an electric aircraft. And I can tell you, it was fantastic. And I even decided, because, well, it's kind of in the line of my business, but also because of my interest for aviation and technology, that I will take that extra, let's say, license to fly electric. So I'm planning to do this autumn or this spring at the latest. Depends on the weather. The flight school is up north in Skellefteå, far away. And the weather is not always good, and the darkness comes very early there. So we'll see. But that's my plan. And if we look at a picture of the future aviation, and again, I think this might have been shown before, but I think it's still one of the better ones. And it's from Aero Days that DLR, the German Aerospace Center, showed at the presentation a couple of years ago. But it gives us a kind of a hint where we're going. So we have batteries and hybrid electric aircraft for the short, medium-haul distances. We have regional fuel cell hybrid technologies. And on the long range, we hope to be able to use hydrogen, but certainly sustainable aviation fuel for a very long time moving on. But you see also the time scale. So we have already passed 2020, and the goal here is 2050. So again, a 30-year journey, which will introduce all these new technologies, of course is a challenge to safety, but we cannot go down in safety levels. We have to go up. The only way is up when it comes to safety. So let's take a closer look at electrification. This was already, I saw some nice slides there, Martin. Some air taxi, eVTOL. So let me show you what I have here. We are at 2023. I don't know if you know this company, it's called Wing. They have delivered hundreds of thousands of deliveries already in Australia and the US, on test as well in Finland, Helsinki. And this is just a fraction of what drones are doing today in the society. And we know that they're getting bigger. And we also know that, unfortunately, there's this terrible war in our neighborhood. And we see, I think, every day pictures of and stories about drones that are changing the landscape of warfare. And if we had had a longer discussion about the evolution of aviation, we have seen that it actually was the First World War and the Second World War that propelled aviation to new levels of technology. And I think we will see the same here. So when this war is over, I hope, we will see that drone technology is taking an enormous step forward. And eventually they will also be autonomous. The air taxis, the eVTOLs, this is one company that has received an approval now from the FAA on its certification process, and it will be ready, it says, by 2025. So it's just a couple of years, right? And then we have Heart Aerospace, the Swedish regional electric or hybrid electric manufacturer in Gothenburg, and they will be on the market 2028. So by 2030, I think we'll be flying that one if we have the opportunity. So this is a journey that we will have to do together. And the thing is that we don't only see a proliferation of technologies, but we will also see, because of these technologies, a proliferation of users, of regulations, of frameworks in which we have to create safety. So it's not going to be easier, it's going to be harder. And of course, we have to work harder in a different way to increase the level of safety as we move on. But at the same time, I think we have a fantastic platform because we have done a tremendous job. I don't know if you go to EASA presentation, you will see a scale from your side goes like this. A lot of accidents here in the beginning of aviation, and it's going down like this to the Läkerol box. And why then? Because we have learned that we cannot just take the experience from accidents to increase safety. That was in the 70s, 50s, and 60s. Now we have to learn from the things that never happened. The drones that came too close, the people that are flying drones, how do we even reach them? We don't know. These are question marks. We don't know. But we have to learn from these different new activities and new groups so that we can continue to become better at aviation. And the dangerous thing here is that we cannot maintain today's level, because if we maintain today's level, the rate of accidents will go up because the traffic will increase. So we have to move always to become safer, to generate more safety. So more actors, more systems, more everything, which makes us realize that we have to not only stand on the 100 years or so of experience, but also look 30 years ahead, where we have an enormous amount of work to do, to introduce the technology, to teach a whole new generation about safety, and a generation that might not have the same understanding of the concepts that we have. I see, fortunately, a lot of young people here, and I'd be happy to hear what you have to say, but at least I can tell you in my neighborhood, my kids, they don't snitch. They don't talk about what their friends have done wrong. It's the culture of not telling, because if you're telling, and I saw that somewhere, there's a saying, if you're snitching, you create unsafety. You are not safe for your friends. These things are things we have to handle. I'm not sure if, I hope that you don't have the same experience. So again, I'm telling you my story, that this is a generation that we have to very soon accept and welcome in our industry. And we have to tell them about this. So whose responsibility is safety? I think that was mentioned as well. Safety is never anyone else's responsibility. Never, ever say that. Never think that, it's okay, I'll do this, and safety is created over there. Safety is never anyone else's responsibility. And this is why I hope that, honestly, when you go to work, you have a feeling that, I think I'll improve safety today. I think that's the main task I have. I have to do all the other things and put the machine together and get it in the air or fuel it up or maintaining web manuals log. I don't know. But you should feel in the industry that you improve safety step by step, day by day, and together. So, this can be very confusing and very complicated, right? I think when I listen to myself, and I don't do that too much, but when I hear it echoing in my head, it's like, how do I do this? How do I do this? So, I'll give you the cat. This is Torsten. And he says, what does he say? He says, meowie. He says, meowie. Or, me, you, we. Very simple. Take that Läkerol box with you. Take Captain Tord, the cat Tord, with you. And take his me, you, we. Then you have taken the first step to the next level of safety culture. It's not harder than that. At least not if you want to simplify as much as possible. I did this little thing and you will get the slides afterwards if you want to read them. What we have to do now, and I think this is the important thing, is that we have so many dimensions to move. So creating a safety culture where we have to maintain the old school, we create the new school small, I call it, small aviation, drones and eVTOLs. And then we go to the new school big. We have hydrogen, we have new actors, new aircraft, new technology, and not the not known yet school. We don't know what's behind next corner. And with that, we have new talents with new attitudes, new requirements and business needs. There will be new business models in this, I'm sure. We already see it. And we have a new and changed perception and appreciation of risks and what we have to do in the society. By the way, I can tell you that we made a survey among our companies to ask if our company, especially the airlines, see that their customers want them to increase sustainability quickly. The answer was overwhelmingly yes. And then the next question, but do anyone want to pay for it? The answer was overwhelmingly no. That's a huge problem for aviation, I can tell you. We need to make people understand that this will be a costly exercise. The sooner we start, the better. So, without further complicating things, we have to work on flight safety, the ground segment, ground safety, digital safety, the world of web manuals, climate safety and work safety. And the way to do that is MIUI and Läkerol. So that's I think the main messages from here. And then we create also the end goal is societal safety, right? So with the very last slide, I end up with web manuals. And why? Because I think that you are sitting on a golden nugget, a diamond of safety. Because the way that you can reach out digitally to different areas of this aviation ecosystem, where you can create, I heard you have created a platform where you can talk to each other as well. So that's amazing. I mean, that's the first step, right? To make people talk, to do the MIUI. So use that and use the perfect platforms that you have in front of you to exchange this information and to learn from each other. Because at the end of the day, if we don't communicate, we would have been in the cave still, I think, and we're not. So we have reached a long, long way. And I think that we can take the next steps if we do it together with a box of Läkerol and MIUI. I will end there. And if anyone wants to contact me, you have the contact details there. I also wanted to show you, on the very last slide, that we have produced a couple of publications recently, unfortunately in Swedish. We're thinking of translating at least, now both I think even, but they tell you a little bit more about aviation, sustainability, technology, where we think that we're going. So I'll leave you with that, MIUI and a box of Läkerol, and I think we will be fine. Thank you very much.